talk about beautiful and green here. It is gorgeous down south. They've really had a good year, and the ranchers are happy in that regard. They're also happy in that border crossings are down significantly. It's been a trend that has been over the past several years, but it's at the lowest level in about 30 years right now. That's due to a number of factors, the biggest of which is the economy, particularly in Mexico, is doing well, largely because of NAFTA. One of the big factors is NAFTA, and that's one of the concerns that I have about where we're going on trade, the other implications that it has on border security. But we, in the bipartisan immigration bill that we passed in 2013 out of the Senate that didn't go anywhere in the House, there were significant border investments. There are areas in some of the towns where we need better walls or fences as we go out of the cities. There are some areas, I can tell you, along the border that don't lend themselves to a wall or a fence or just about any barrier, but are best dealt with surveillance. And so when people talk about one solution on the border, they haven't traveled the border. When you talk to the ranchers there, you have a lot of different issues that come up all the time. If you go down near Nogales, or actually down in Cochise County, if you're near Naco, you have it's a watershed. The water flows north, not south, and so you can't have a wall. Obviously, you have to have a fence with storm gates that open when floods happen. So it's a different kind of it's different border infrastructure than many envision. But the situation is better. There is good cooperation between local law enforcement and the federal government at the time. I tell you, the border sheriffs, whether it's Leon Wilmot in Yuma or Sheriff Daniels in Cochise County, I tell you, we have good cooperation with the Border Patrol, and it's bore fruits there. And so we're in a better situation on the border than we've been in quite a while. We just have to build on those improvements and recognize that any event might change the equation significantly. For example, if Mexico in their elections next year were to elect a populist, maybe leftist government, Obrador or somebody else, that might change the trajectory of the government there in terms of privatization, trade, and it could affect their economy significantly. Then we would face pressures again. And that's one big concern I have about not just the policy that we have with Mexico, but the rhetoric that we have with Mexico. If we gin up anti-American sentiment in Mexico, it might lead to or aid the election of a leftist government there that would not be to our benefit here in Arizona or in the United States. But the border, there's better cooperation. We have continuing infrastructure improvements. I traveled with Dan Bell, a rancher near Nogales 2 weeks ago, on his property, and the new infrastructure in terms of cameras and technology that has improved the situation there significantly in terms of crossing. So we've had better improvements. The problem is that you have very few people coming to work, migrant traffic across the border, but you still have those carrying drugs. And we obviously have to be concerned about that, as we have to be concerned about the prospect of terrorism.